During the 2020 season, the Minnesota Vikings were the definition of average, but with their moves during the 2021 NFL offseason and especially during the draft, I think their fortunes can change sooner rather than later. So that is the topic for today, how the Minnesota Vikings had a really good offseason and how I think they're building something up there in Minnesota. It may take time, but I think they're building the team the right way and in a way that no one is really talking about because it does not get good ratings. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Just go straight to the meat of it. They're building the offensive line to be very good. During the draft, they needed interior offensive linemen. They traded down from 14 and Christian Darrisaw fell in their laps. I do not know how the Raiders did not pick him. Me being a Steelers fan, I was hoping he would fall to Pittsburgh. But Christian Darrisaw at 23 to the Vikings was an absolute steal. Then later on in the draft during the third round, they selected Wyatt Davis, interior offensive lineman from Ohio State. That's another steal to me. He is a stud in my eyes. He was one of the best interior linemen in this draft class. They got Darrisaw and Wyatt Davis in the same draft class, and then just last year they got Urza Cleveland, right guard during the second round, which I think was a very good pick. Garrett Bradbury, their center, was their first rounder in 2019, and right tackle Brian O'Neill was their second rounder in 2018. That is what I want to talk about today, is mostly their offensive line, because that is how you build a successful team, and that's how you do it in a low-key way. And they've completed the offensive line. They have 5 guys, and I think they're all good. Their current left guard listed as the starter on Our Lads is Dakota Dozier. You need to get that guy the fuck out of there. He fucking sucks. You need to put Wyatt Davis at left guard stat so you can build the chemistry between these 5 guys and hope that 3 of them hit big, because I'm sure one of these guys is not going to be very great. That's just how it works. You have 5 young guys. One of them's not going to be good. That's just realistic. But if 3 of these guys can hit, you need to get them in the same room on the same line right now and let them build chemistry together and hopefully build a fantastic line for years to come, because that rest of the offense has studs. You have Justin Jefferson, who came into the league and was instantly one of the best receivers, hands down. They already had Thielen. They unfortunately did have to trade Stephon Diggs, but I mean, they got a great receiving core with Jefferson and Thielen right now. And their running back is obviously Dalvin Cook, one of the best in the game. And something that definitely helps out Dalvin Cook is building a great offensive line. That's exactly what the Vikings are doing. They're a rush-first offense right now. Kirk Cousins is their QB. Kirk Cousins is not great. We all know that, but they have surrounded Kirk Cousins with a great supporting cast for the offense. Looking at the tight end spot, they did lose Kyle Rudolph, but they do have Irv Smith Jr., who I mean, he could break out next year. I'm very personally hoping that he does, because I loved watching him play college ball. But I do really like the Vikings offense, and what they did during the third round by also selecting Kellen Mond from Texas A&M kind of lights a fire beneath 32-year-old Kirk Cousins. That is awesome, because it could either light a fire under him, or let's just say Kellen Mond comes in and sits behind him for that year or 2 left in his contract, then he takes over. Because, I mean, Kellen Mond has potential. We saw that during his pro day. He can sling the ball. So, I mean, that offense is something. They're building something there. They have the stars in Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. Their quarterback room is nothing special. Let's face the facts. It is nothing special. Kirk Cousins, he is not going to get any better from here. He is the definition of average, but Kellen Mond can either light a fire beneath him, or Kellen Mond can take over in 2 years. And they're building a great young offensive line where if 3 of those guys can hit, look out, because that is massive. Transitioning over to the defense, last season the Vikings defense was below average. They ranked 24th in passing defense and 27th in rushing defense. It was not good. Both Anthony Barr being out for the season, him coming back will definitely be big, but without a doubt the biggest hole that they had to fill was that defensive line. And did they really fill it? Kinda, not really. They got They got Dalvin Tomlinson in there, but during the draft, they did address it big time. They did not draft a first rounder with it, which is a little sketch to me, but they spent 3rd, 4th, and 6th round picks just on that defensive line, which is great to see. I think they had a great first 3 rounds. I think they had a great draft total, so I don't blame them for putting off the defensive line until that 3rd, 4th, and 6th round picks, because I think they addressed the offensive line first and they addressed that quarterback room first, which was great to see. So I mean, I do think 3rd, 4th, 6th rounders, if one of those guys can hit, that would be massive. With their 4th 3rd round pick, they drafted Chaz Surratt, linebacker from UNC, who has great potential. I think him, they already got Troy Dye last season, so I mean, if Anthony Barr does get hurt again, or if Eric Kendricks gets hurt, I do think they have young guys backed up there waiting to immediately help. Then looking at their secondary, losing Anthony Harris was definitely bad. There is nothing good about that. I don't know the behind the scenes action with that. I'm sure Vikings fans, if you know shit about that, comment that, because I am genuinely curious about it. But I do think that the secondary, they did well addressing it. They brought in Patrick Peterson from Arizona, and they already have Jeff Gladney from last season, who should continue to progress and could potentially be a stud. They already have Marvin Harrison, free safety Xavier Woods. To keep it a buck, I do not know who that is, but their nickelback Cameron Dantzler was a 3rd round pick from last year's draft. So they have young guys littered throughout this defense. It's just the only problem with their defense is that defensive line. Hopefully next draft season they do address that big time, because they did draft 3 guys there. I get that. But if they can get a stud next year, because they're not going to be this great team next year, if the Vikings can get a stud there with their mid-first round pick next offseason, that would be big time. So yeah, the Vikings, they had a great draft. They admittedly had a great draft, but what does this mean for the 2021 season? It probably means being more average. If they can stay healthy, they can potentially squeak into that 7th wild card spot. Because shit, if the Bears could do it last year, then the Vikings could do it this year. I do think the Vikings, though, they are building something. Something is brewing up there in Minnesota with that offensive line being what it is, and them already having Dalvin Cook locked up long term. Imagine Dalvin Cook behind a great offensive line. They already have Justin Jefferson and Thielen. So if Mod needs help, or if Kirk Cousins needs help, just lob it up to him. So yeah, that's going to do it for me today. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you want to see more videos like it, hit the subscribe button. I do have a big project coming out, hopefully on Friday or Saturday. That is the day that I'm shooting for. That is the day that I'm shooting for. But yeah, hope you enjoyed and have a great day.